What if I told you that waking up between 3 to 5 a.m. at the age of 60, 70, or even 80 is not a sleep problem, but a silent calling? Most people wake up at this hour and feel confused. Some feel lonely. Some feel anxious. Some sit on the edge of the bed wondering, why am I awake when the whole world is asleep? But here's the truth no one tells you. In ancient Buddhist understanding, this hour is known as a threshold moment, a time when the mind becomes quiet, the ego loosens its grip, and the soul becomes more receptive than at any other time of the day. At this stage of life, 60 to 85, you are no longer here to chase, prove, or compete. You are here to understand, release, and complete something far deeper. Buddhism teaches that when the body ages, consciousness sharpens. Sleep reduces not because something is wrong, but because something is awakening. This video is not for everyone. This is for those who wake up at this hour with a strange awareness, a quiet heaviness in the chest, or a feeling that life is trying to say something without words. Today, I will tell you exactly what to do if you wake up between 3 to 5 a.m., especially in this sacred phase of life. Not modern motivation, not empty positivity, but timeless Buddhist wisdom that can protect your mind, calm your heart, and prepare your spirit. Do not skip this video. One of these practices could change the way you live the rest of your life. Before we begin, like this video, subscribe to the channel, because these teachings are not entertainment. They are reminders your soul has been waiting for. Now, listen carefully. 1. Do not rush back to sleep. Sit in stillness. When you wake up between 3 to 5 a.m., the first instinct is panic. You look at the clock. You sigh. You think, why can't I sleep like I used to? You turn from side to side, force your eyes shut, beg your mind to go quiet. But the more you chase sleep, the farther it runs. And that is the first suffering. Buddhism teaches something very simple, yet very uncomfortable for the modern mind. What you resist persists. At this hour, forcing sleep is not rest, it is violence against your own awareness. Many elders make this mistake. They treat wakefulness as an enemy. But what if it is not? What if waking up at this hour is not a malfunction, but a message? Think of an old man sitting on the edge of his bed in the dark. The house is silent. The family sleeps. There is no noise from the street, no expectations, no roles to play. For the first time in the day, or maybe the only time he exists without performing, no one needs anything from him. He doesn't have to be strong. He doesn't have to explain himself. He doesn't have to rush anywhere. That is why Buddhism does not tell you to fight this moment. It tells you to sit. Sit in stillness. Not to meditate like a monk, not to achieve enlightenment, just to sit as you are with the breath you have. Slow your breathing, not deliberately, but gently, like you would calm a frightened child. Feel the air entering the body that has carried you for decades. A body that has known labor, stress, joy, loss, sacrifice, and time. At this age, every breath is earned. Every breath has weight. This hour is special because desire is asleep. The mind is not planning. The ego is not shouting. The past is quieter. The future has not yet arrived. What remains is something rare. Bare awareness. That is why 5 minutes of stillness here can feel heavier, deeper, more real than hours of restless sleep later. You are not tired because you are awake. You are tired because your mind has been noisy for too many years. At this stage of life, silence feels unfamiliar, even frightening, because it exposes what noise used to cover. Unspoken regrets, unexpressed love, questions about meaning, thoughts about mortality that were postponed for decades. But Buddhism does not ask you to answer these questions. It only asks you to sit with them without running. This is where wisdom begins to ripen. Silence at 25 feels empty. Silence at 65 feels full. Full of memories, lessons, mistakes, forgiveness, and truths that words cannot carry. When you sit in stillness instead of forcing sleep, something strange happens. The chest softens, the breath deepens, the urgency dissolves. You stop fighting life for a few precious minutes. And in those minutes, the mind learns something it forgot long ago. Nothing needs to be fixed right now. That realization alone heals more than sleep. So if you wake up at this hour, do not curse your age. Do not judge your body. Do not rush back into unconsciousness. Sit, breathe. Let the night hold you the way life once did. Because at this age, silence is not emptiness. It is wisdom finally speaking without words. 2. Place one hand on your chest and observe the breath. When you wake up between 3 and 5 inches the morning, the mind often goes looking for answers. It wants explanations. It wants reassurance. It wants to do something to regain control. But Buddhism does not begin with doing. It begins with not interfering. At this hour, do not chant. Do not repeat words you no longer feel. Do not try to think your way into peace. Simply place one hand on your chest. That single movement is powerful. It tells the nervous system, I am here. It tells the body, you are not alone. After decades of surviving for others, this is often the first honest act of self-presence. Feel the warmth beneath your palm. That warmth is not symbolic. It is life still working, still breathing, still carrying you forward despite everything it has endured. Now, observe the breath, not to control it, not to make it deep or spiritual, just to notice it. The Buddha taught that awareness of breathing is the gateway to liberation, not because breathing is magical, but because it is always happening now, and suffering lives everywhere except now. At 3:05 a.m., the breath changes on its own. It becomes slower, quieter, more honest. You are not performing for anyone. You are not holding yourself together for the world. You are just breathing like you did when you were a child. Before life taught you to tense up, think of an elderly woman sitting alone in the dark. Her family is asleep. The house remembers decades of noise, arguments, laughter, and loss. She places her hand on her chest, and for a moment, she feels something unexpected, not sadness, not fear, but presence. No one taught her this. Her body remembered. When you observe the breath like this, something very quiet begins to happen. The fear of aging loosens its grip, not because you deny age, but because age no longer feels like an enemy. You feel yourself as alive, not as old. The fear of death also changes. It does not vanish dramatically. It simply loses its sharpness. When you are aware of breathing, death stops being an idea in the future and becomes irrelevant in the present. Buddhism does not promise immortality. It offers something far more radical: peace with impermanence. Loneliness, too, shifts in this moment. Most people are not lonely because they are alone. They are lonely because they are disconnected from themselves. When your hand rests on your chest and you observe the breath, you feel companionship not from another person, but from being alive itself. No conversation can give this. No reassurance from family can replace this. No words are needed. That is why this practice works without saying a single word. At this age, words have betrayed you many times. Promises were broken. Explanations fell short. Reassurances did not last. But the breath has never lied to you. It has been there through grief, through illness, through exhaustion, through nights when you thought you would not make it. And here it is again at 3 a.m. still showing up. When you observe it without judgment, without demand, without fear, the mind slowly stops fighting time. And when the mind stops fighting time, suffering weakens. This is not meditation for monks. This is companionship for the aging soul. So if you wake at this hour, do not search for meaning in thoughts. Do not analyze your life. Do not replay regrets. Place your hand on your chest. Observe the breath. Let life remind you that you are still here, and that is enough. This is not technique. This is homecoming. 3. Reflect on impermanence gently, not fearfully. This stage of life, reflection is often misunderstood. People assume that looking back will only bring sadness, that remembering will reopen wounds, that silence will invite regret. But Buddhism teaches something radically different. Reflection, when done gently, is not suffering, it is clarity. When you wake between 3 and 5 inches the morning, the mind is unusually honest. It is not defending itself. It is not justifying choices. It is not performing strength. This is why this hour is ideal for understanding impermanence, Anika, not as a philosophy, but as a lived truth. Think of how many versions of you have already died. The young body, the ambitious mind, the roles you played, provider, protector, caretaker, fighter, none of them stayed. And yet, here you are. This realization is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to free you. At this hour, ask silently without pressure, without demand, what no longer needs to be carried. Not dramatically, not with tears forced, just honestly. You may see old resentments rise, words spoken decades ago that still echo. You may see guilt over choices that could not have ended differently. You may see relationships that ended without closure. Buddhism does not ask you to fix these memories. It only asks you to see them clearly. Suffering is not caused by the past itself, but by holding it as if it were permanent. Anika reminds us, even pain has an expiration. Think of an elderly man who wakes at this hour and suddenly remembers a mistake he made when he was 30, the face of someone he hurt, a decision that changed everything. For years, that memory controlled him. But now, in the quiet dark, something shifts. He sees not just the mistake, but the human being he was at that time. Limited, afraid, unaware. This is not self-forgiveness as an idea. This is understanding as an experience. When you reflect like this, gently, the mind begins to release what the busy daylight mind cannot. During the day, the ego is alert. At night, it is tired. That is why emotional burdens loosen here. Do not judge your past self. Judgment assumes you had the wisdom you have now. You did not. Buddhism teaches compassion not only for others but for the self across time. When you simply see the past without trying to rewrite it, something extraordinary happens. The grip weakens. The memory loses weight. The chest feels lighter. Impermanence does not mean nothing matters. It means nothing needs to be carried forever. At this age, many people fear reflection because it reminds them of mortality. But Anika does not whisper death, it whispers release. If everything changes, then guilt does not have to stay. If everything changes, then shame is not permanent. If everything changes, then even regret can soften. This hour gives you permission to lay burdens down quietly, without ceremony. No apologies needed. No explanations required. Just seeing and letting pass. Like clouds moving across a night sky that has seen thousands of storms and remains untouched. So if you wake between 3 and 5 a.m., do not distract yourself. Do not numb yourself. Do not run from memory. Sit with impermanence gently. Let it show you what is already loosening. Because clarity at this age is not about adding meaning. It is about unburdening the heart. And that is a freedom few ever taste. 4. Make a small intention for the day. By the time you reach this stage of life, you already know a painful truth. Big goals do not guarantee peace. You have chased them before. You worked harder than your body wanted to. You carried responsibilities that never truly ended. You achieved things you once believed would finally make you feel complete. And yet peace often arrived only in small, unexpected moments. A quiet morning, a slow walk, a gentle conversation. That is why, when you wake between 3 and 5 a.m., Buddhism does not ask you to set goals. Goals belong to ambition. Intentions belong to awareness. A goal demands. An intention allows. At this hour, the mind is soft. It is not competing. It is not proving anything. This is the perfect moment to shape the quality of your day, not its outcome. Making a small intention is like placing a compass inside the heart. It does not force direction, it gently guides. Think of an elderly woman who wakes before dawn. She knows her day will include physical pain, routine chores, and quiet loneliness. No goal can erase that. But she places one intention in her chest. Today, I will speak gently even to myself. That single intention changes everything. Her words soften, her reactions slow. Her body feels less tense, not because life became easier, but because she stopped fighting it. Buddhism teaches that suffering is not caused by circumstances alone, but by how we meet them. An intention shapes the meeting. At this age, inner peace is success. Not recognition, not productivity, not being busy. Peace is waking up and not immediately bracing for battle. When you set an intention like, "Today, I will not hold resentment," you are not promising perfection. You are offering yourself relief. Resentment is heavy. It ages the face faster than time. It tightens the chest more than illness. Letting go, even for one day, is not weakness, it is wisdom earned. Another simple intention: today I will walk slowly and consciously. This may sound small, but it is revolutionary in a world that never stops rushing. Walking slowly tells the nervous system that you are safe. It tells the body it no longer needs to outrun life. At this stage, slowing down is not falling behind. It is finally arriving. Think of how many years you walked quickly because you had to. Deadlines, responsibilities, survival. Now, each slow step is a quiet rebellion against unnecessary urgency. Buddhism does not measure life by how much you accomplish, but by how awake you are while living it. An intention keeps you awake. This practice is powerful because it is realistic. You are not redesigning your life. You are not fixing the past. You are not controlling the future. You are simply choosing how to be today. And that choice, repeated gently, changes the way time feels. When you live with intention, the day no longer rushes past you. Moments become visible. Kindness becomes possible. The heart feels less crowded. At this age, success is not winning. It is ending the day without inner conflict. So, when you wake at this hour, do not overwhelm yourself with plans. Place one small intention inside you. Carry it like a quiet lamp through the day. Because in the end, a peaceful day is not built by big achievements. It is built by gentle choices made again and again. And that is a victory no one can take from you. 5. Avoid phone, news, and bright light. When you wake between 3 and 5 inches the morning, the world has not yet claimed you. No voices, no demands, no expectations. This hour is one of the few moments left in modern life that is untouched. And yet, most people destroy it within seconds. The hand reaches automatically for the phone. A bright screen pierces the darkness. The nervous system jolts awake. The mind is flooded news, messages, other people's problems, other people's fears. In that instant, the sacred becomes polluted. Buddhist monks protect this hour not out of superstition, but out of deep understanding. They know the mind at this time is like perfectly still water, clear, reflective, honest. Drop even a small stone into still water, and ripples spread in every direction. A single headline, a single message, a single image. The calm is gone. Think of an elderly man who wakes peacefully at 4 a.m. His breath is slow. His body is relaxed. For a few seconds, he feels something rare: neutrality. No anxiety, no pressure. Then he checks the news. Within minutes, his chest tightens. The world feels dangerous again. Old fears return. Anger rises at things he cannot control. Nothing in his life changed, only what entered his mind. Buddhism teaches that suffering begins at the sense doors, what we allow to enter the eyes and ears. At this hour, those doors are wide open and unguarded. Bright light is not harmless. It tells the brain that it is time to fight, perform, and react. It pulls you out of the body and into the noise of the world. At this age, the nervous system is more sensitive. What once felt stimulating now feels overwhelming. The mind holds on to disturbances longer. That is why if you pollute this moment, the whole day feels heavy, not because the day is difficult, but because you started it in violence against stillness. This is not about discipline. It is about protection. Protection of a mind that has already carried enough. Protection of a heart that does not need more fear. Protection of an inner space that rarely gets a chance to breathe. Think of monks sitting before dawn, surrounded by darkness. No artificial light, no sound except breath. They are not escaping reality, they are preparing to meet it without being wounded by it. You do not need to live like a monk to learn from this. You only need to understand that what you consume first shapes everything that follows. A day that begins in silence carries a different weight. Conversations feel softer. Reactions are slower. Thoughts are less sharp. A day that begins in screens carries restlessness. Even joy feels rushed. Even rest feels incomplete. At this stage of life, peace is fragile but not weak. It simply requires space. So when you wake at this hour, resist the reflex. Do not invite the world into your mind before you have settled into yourself. Let the darkness remain. Let the eyes adjust. Let the still water stay clear. Because once the ripples begin, they do not stop easily. This hour is not empty. It is preparing you. And if you protect it, the day will carry you instead of you dragging the day behind you. 6. If tears come, let them. There is a moment, especially between 3 and 5 inches the morning, when the heart finally stops pretending. The world is quiet. The body is tired of holding itself together. And emotions that were kept in check all day begin to rise without permission. For many elders, this moment is frightening. Tears come unexpectedly, without reason, without a clear story. And the first reaction is often resistance. Why am I crying? I should be stronger than this. I have no reason to feel this way. But Buddhism offers a truth that most people were never taught. Emotion is not weakness. Attachment to emotion is. Crying is not failure. Suppressing tears is. At this age, the heart has carried more than most people will ever understand. Years of unspoken sacrifice. Grief that was postponed because life had to continue. Love that was never expressed fully. Losses that were absorbed quietly, without ceremony. During the day, the mind stays busy enough to keep these emotions buried. At night, especially at this hour, the defenses fall away. This is not breakdown. This is release. Think of an elderly man who never cried when his parents died, who stayed strong for his children, who never allowed himself to grieve fully because survival came first. Decades later, at 4 a.m., tears finally arrive not for one loss, but for a lifetime of holding back. Buddhism does not tell him to stop. It does not label this moment as weakness. It understands it as unfinished mourning finding a voice. Tears at this hour are different. They are quiet. They are not dramatic. They come without anger. They cleanse something deep. Non-attachment does not mean emotional numbness. It means allowing emotions to pass without clinging to them or pushing them away. When you let tears fall without telling yourself a story about them, they move through the body like rain through dry soil. They soften what is hardened. They loosen what has been tightly held. Many elders feel ashamed of crying because they were taught that strength means endurance without expression. But Buddhism teaches that true strength is honest presence. The body knows when it is time to release. And at this hour, it chooses gentleness. Think of an elderly woman sitting alone in the dark, tears rolling down her face, not from pain alone, but from relief. Relief that she does not have to explain herself. Relief that no one is watching. Relief that she can finally feel without being needed. These tears are not asking for comfort. They are completing something. After crying like this, the breath often becomes deeper. The chest feels lighter. The mind grows quieter. This is not coincidence. This is the nervous system returning to balance. Suppressing tears at this moment does the opposite. The emotion turns inward. The chest tightens. The body remembers the pain even if the mind forgets it again. That is why Buddhism does not teach repression. Repression traps suffering. Awareness releases it. If tears come, do not analyze them. Do not justify them. Do not rush them away. Let them come. Let them go. They do not define you. They do not weaken you. They do not undo your life. They cleanse it. At this stage of life, crying is not regression. It is integration. It is the heart finally laying down what it has carried too long. And when the tears stop, something quiet remains. Not sadness, but space. Space where peace can finally settle. 7. End with gratitude for simply being alive. As the night begins to loosen its grip and the first hint of morning approaches, There is one final thing to do, not because it improves life, but because it changes how life is held. Gratitude. Not the loud kind, not the forced kind, not gratitude for success, achievements, or even relationships. Just gratitude for being alive. At this stage of life, you already know how fragile existence is. You have seen people younger than you disappear. You have watched strong bodies weaken. You have stood at hospital beds, funeral grounds, and quiet rooms where life suddenly ended. So when you wake at this hour, breathing, aware, present that fact alone is not ordinary. It is rare. Buddhism teaches that aging is not decline. It is returning to truth. When youth fades, illusions fade with it. You no longer believe that life will wait. You no longer believe that time is unlimited. And strangely, this makes each moment more real, not less. Gratitude at this hour is not about smiling or feeling positive. It is about recognition. Recognition that despite everything, the losses, the mistakes, the pain, the unfinished conversations, you are still here. Think of an elderly man sitting quietly at 4:30 a.m. His body aches. His life did not turn out exactly as planned, but he places his hand on his chest and whispers inwardly, "I am still alive." No pride, no drama, just truth. That single acknowledgement softens something deep inside. The urgency to prove fades. The pressure to justify one's existence dissolves. Gratitude like this does not deny suffering. It simply refuses to let suffering be the whole story. Many people fear aging because it feels like time is running out, but Buddhism offers a different lens. Time is not leaving you, it is revealing you. When you are grateful simply for being, the fear of time loosens. You stop measuring life by how much is left and start feeling it as it is. Think of how many mornings you woke up in your younger years without noticing the breath, without noticing the light, without noticing the miracle of consciousness itself. Now, at this hour, awareness has sharpened. You are awake not just in body, but in presence. Gratitude here is not emotional. It is existential. It says, I do not need to add anything to justify my life. I do not need to achieve anything more to deserve peace. I am enough because I am. This is why Buddhist monks end their early hours not with plans, but with quiet appreciation for existence. Because when you are grateful for being, nothing else is required to feel whole. Gratitude like this does not make you passive. It makes you gentle. Gentle with your body, gentle with your memories, gentle with the time you have left. And that gentleness is wisdom. So before the day begins, before the world enters your mind, end this sacred hour by acknowledging the simplest truth of all. You are alive. You are breathing. You are here. And that in itself is enough. This is not the end of life. It is life, finally seen clearly. As we conclude, if you wake up between 3 and 5 inches the morning at this stage of life, do not label it as a problem. Do not tell yourself something is wrong with you. You are not broken. You are becoming aware. This is the hour when the world is silent enough for truth to speak. No noise, no pressure, no performance, only you, your breath, and the quiet understanding that life is deeper than it once appeared. During the day, life shouts. It demands attention, reaction, and effort. But in this hour, life does not shout, it whispers. And whispers are only heard by those who have slowed down enough to listen. If something in this video touched your heart, it is because awareness recognizes awareness. Not everyone will understand this message. Not everyone is meant to. So if this spoke to you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment, I am awake. Not as a trend, but as a quiet acknowledgement of where you are in life. Your waking is not accidental. It is not random. It is not punishment. It is meaningful. It is life gently calling you inward, not to demand more from you, but to finally give you peace